last topic that we're going to be talking about today is a bit more of a personal topic. This is not like something that's in movie news necessarily, but I just wanted to give my opinion on something. And that is speaking about the Harry Potter series. Now, obviously, with... I've got to be careful here, I guess. J.K. Rowling, her views on trans people is disgusting. Like, it is what it is. Like, but you have to kind of... I'm trying to separate the art from the artist, if that makes sense. I think J.K. Rowling's a piece of shit for what she says about trans people. That's 100%. That's what it is. However, separating the art from the artist, Harry Potter for me is the greatest entertainment series ever. More than the MCU, more than Star Wars, more than the DC series, like anything. So, it's hard for me to kind of not still enjoy the Harry Potter series. It's very hard for me to do that. So, when I'm thinking about the future of the series, it's very conflicting for me because the artist is tainted a little bit for me, but I can still appreciate her work. And her work in the Harry Potter series, especially with the novels, the original series of books, I mean, for me, it's not the greatest literature ever as far as quality of book, but as far as being so important and a very important part of British culture, Harry Potter's right up there. Like, anyone who was born in, like, the late 90s and lived through the 2000s, like, Harry Potter was everywhere. You couldn't escape it. It was everywhere. Like, they had midnight releases for Harry Potter books, and they, like, the shops used to be crowded for them. So, this is the kind of cultural impact they had. Obviously, the films were made as very loyal adaptations to the books, but they left a lot out. But they were still very loyal adaptations to the books and followed JK's vision very well. Then, obviously, the series ended in 2011 with Deathly Hallows Part 2. Still, for me, the greatest experience I've ever had in a cinema. Like, Endgame, very, very close. Endgame, very, very close. But still, Deathly Hallows Part 2 is the greatest experience I've ever had in the cinema. Like, it was just... If ever it gets re-released on there, I think I went to watch it 2-3 years ago now when it got re-released at Odeon, at an Odeon near me, and I went to watch it, and it's still, I mean, I was nearly crying. It was amazing. It's such a good film to watch in cinemas, and I was crushed because the world was over. Then we got the announcement that was doing the Fantastic Beasts films, a series of films that are very loosely tied to the Harry Potter series. I see. This is the thing. I love the Harry Potter series. I have very mixed feelings when it comes to the Fantastic Beast films. I think the first one has its problems, but it's a solid film. I don't think it's great or anything. I think I'd put it on par with something like Chamber of Secrets or something like that. Like, it's not a great piece of cinema. It's not a great film, but it's a solid, entertaining watch, and it was a decent starting point for the Fantastic Beasts series. The second one was terrible. Crimes of Grindelwald was just awful. Just an overblown, like, poorly written, poorly edited film. And the worst part of that film was the writing. It just was. J.K. Rowling's not a good screenwriter. She's a good writer when it comes to books and literature, but she's not a very good screenwriter. So my feelings on the next Fantastic Beasts films moving forward are very, very quiet. Like, I'm quietly excited. Like, I'm saying this and then they'll release the trailer and I'll be over the moon. But right now, mixed feelings on the series moving forward. It's not really what I want to be seeing from this world. And what I do want to be seeing is more things moving forward. Prequels for me are good in a way. I'm not a massive fan of prequels though. I'm not a huge fan of prequels. There are exceptions, like X-Men First Class is fantastic. I love X-Men First Class. It's one of my favourite films ever, and that was a prequel. So it's not like I'm opposed to prequels. I just think sometimes the idea of a prequel You're my biggest problem with prequels is that they lack tension. They lack tension because you know, especially characters that show up in future films, and you know they survive. There's no tension there because you already know what's going on. Like you already know that these characters will survive this. You already know that, like you already know where these characters will end up. So it doesn't really have the same tension there. However, sequels are different because there is that tension there. And I always have felt that a sequel film to Deathly Hallows should happen. Not directly after Deathly Hallows. I think it should be something that's set years later, maybe when they're old, maybe after like the epilogue of Deathly Hallows, where they're at the train station and you know their kids are going up to Hogwarts. Now there was the cursed child, and I know people will say the cursed child was there. That's canon. For me, it's not canon at all. It doesn't hold a candle to those original books. It's written a completely different way. Doesn't fit the series at all as far as tone, as far as the characters. They're not. It's not the same. They're not the same. So I don't class that really as official canon. And people keep saying, "Oh, I hope we get a Cursed Child film." Have you read the Cursed Child play? Have you seen the play? Have you read the screenplay for Cursed Child? It's awful. It's a terrible story. It's this weird. I've always said this, right, about the Harry Potter films. People say that these dumb fantasy action films. That's not what the Harry Potter films are. Harry Potter films and the books are mysteries disguised as fantasies. That's what they are. That's why the Harry Potter books and the Harry Potter series is so good. Because they're mysteries. They're mysteries. They're not fantasy. The fantasy aspect is the icing on the cake. It's the sauce on the ice cream. It's the cheese on the pizza. It's not the core of what it is. That's not what it is. It's not what it is. That's not what the Harry Potter series is. The Harry Potter series are mysteries. You look at each individual book and film, they're mysteries. That's the main course. That's the main aspect of what this series is. What's the first film, first book? I'll just say the first film because I more relate to the films than I do the books. So the first film, what's the main aspect of that film that starts the whole plot? It's what is the Philosopher's Stone. That's the main draw of the story. That's what starts the story. That's what brings the characters together. That's the whole basis of the film, is what's the Philosopher's Stone? What is that three-headed dog hiding underneath the trapdoor? What's up with, like, who's guarding the stuff? Like, it's a mystery. Same as Chamber of Secrets. What's down? Where's the Chamber of Secrets? What is the Chamber of Secrets? What's down in the what's killing these kids? Like, the third one, who's Sirius Black? What's the mystery behind Sirius Black? Like, the fourth film, you know, the mysteries who put Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire. The mystery of why Harry's having these dreams, and his relationship to Voldemort. The Order of the Phoenix. What's the main story with the Order of the Phoenix? The main crux of that film is the mystery behind Harry's relationship with Voldemort. Why does he keep having these flashes? What's the mystery behind the connection between these characters? Why are they intrinsically linked like that? The Half-Blood Prince. What's the mystery behind Voldemort? Voldemort's backstory. What's that whole? Where's the mystery in that? Deathly Hallows. What's the mystery of the actual Deathly Hallows? What are the Deathly Hallows? What's their purpose? What was the whole mystery of Harry's involvement with Voldemort is continued again, and what Dumbledore was setting him up for. The mystery of Snape. Like, why Snape did what he did, and that gets unveiled. The main crux of these stories are not about the fantasy. It's not about the magic and the trolls and the castle and the wizardry, and that's not what it is. The main core of the stories are mysteries. Now, with The Cursed Child, which is why, getting back to my point, the main reason why I don't want The Cursed Child to be adapted into an official canon film for the film series, because it's not a mystery. There's no mystery there. There's no mystery. It feels like a different thing. It's this weird time travel film. It's this weird time travel film about a child who doesn't understand, this weird angsty pubescent child trying to find like his worth. That's what The Cursed Child is. There's no mystery in The Cursed Child. There's no mystery in The Cursed Child, and not just the fact that it's structured so differently than the original the original books and films. Not that it's structured so differently as well. The writing's awful. The story's different. They bring back Voldemort. They bring back Cedric Diggory from the grave. Like, they go back in time to save Cedric. Voldemort had a kid with Bellatrix. Like, apparently this was like, she gave birth just before the Battle of Hogwarts, even though when Harry went to Malfoy Manor and faced off with Bellatrix and the Snatchers and the Malfoys, she wasn't pregnant. So it doesn't make sense. If you're a Harry Potter fan and you connect the dots, it doesn't make any sense. The more you think about it, the more annoying it gets. This is why I don't want a sequel for the official film series to have anything to do with The Cursed Child. To have anything to do with it. I see that as like a weird fan thing. That's what it is. It's fan fiction. It's a Harry Potter fan fiction disguised as official canon, and it's not official canon. So my feeling is, will there ever be a Harry Potter sequel series, or just a sequel film? It doesn't have to be a series. I think there will be a series, whether it be a trilogy or a series of films. I do think that will happen one day. Whether it be 10 years from now, 20 years from now, it's kind of similar to what happened with Star Wars, where, you know, we had the Star Wars original series, and then, you know, we had the prequel series 20 years later, well, 15 years later, 20 years later, and then, you know, nearly 20 years after that, then we get the sequel series. I think it'll be a similar thing with the Harry Potter series. And I hope that's the case. I really want Harry Potter sequels. I want it so bad. I think this world is so rich and so vast. There's still so much. Oh, my light just went. Yeah, there's still so much with these characters. There's so much to do with these characters, guys. Hang on, let me put my light back up. Eventually, there we go. Yeah, that's better. Right, okay, yeah. There's still so much to invest with these characters. There's still so much to know about these characters. There's a big story there waiting to be told. Whether it be, you know, if they go and in Harry's relationship with his kids, just discover that, or maybe if we do focus on the kids and their kind of involvement in Hogwarts' future, and there's a lot to be told. There's a lot of story there. It doesn't have to just go back to the same thing again and redo Voldemort, redo what we already know, like play off nostalgia. It doesn't have to be that, but I do think there is a story there to be told. Whether it comes from J.K. Rowling, whether it comes from a separate screenwriter who comes with an idea to Warner Brothers and J.K. Rowling says, look, this is my idea for where I think these characters would be in 30 years' time after the end of the Deathly Hallows. I think there's a story there to be told, and I think one day we'll get it. I mean, just look at the fact that I think there's a TV series coming out on Amazon, maybe. They're doing like some Harry Potter, some spin-off things set in the world of Harry Potter. But even though I like the idea of that, I like the idea of expanding the world with more, you know, making the world richer and bigger. It doesn't just have to focus on the Potters and focus on, you know, the Weasleys and Hermione and Hogwarts. There's more to be told in that very rich and vast world there. So it doesn't have to exclusively be about Harry and Hermione and Ron again. But I do think there is a story there to be told, I think. And one day I think it will happen. I mean, let me know your thoughts on that. It's a very tough one because the Fantastic Beasts films have been kind of declining in quality and interest over time. But if you don't think, if they announce tomorrow, or WB in secretly dropped an announcement trailer announcing Harry Potter and the Dragon of the Tomb, like, I don't know. I don't know, guys. Just an idea, like, if they announce that, you can't tell me interest would not be over the moon. Like, people would be going crazy for that. People, especially people from our generation, people who are between the ages of like 20 and 40, 30, 40, like, those people are going to go crazy for that. Daniel Radcliffe's a fantastic actor, especially now. He's developed a lot over time. Emma Watson's turned into a very capable actress. Rupert Grint's always been a very talented actor. There's talent there. And yes, I know a lot of the original cast aren't with us now, over time. But there's still a lot of them left. I mean, if you wanted to bring back some old characters, they're there. And I think that, like I said, there's still a lot of this story to tell. And it's just a shame that we get these Fantastic Beasts films because it's not the story that I think I or a lot of other people want to see. And you can see that by the diminishing box office returns, by the fact that people just don't really seem to be interested. There's no kind of talk about the Fantastic Beasts films online, or really even discussions with people who really talks about the Fantastic Beasts films. Like, it's not really that popular. But this is Harry Potter. Like, this is at one point before the MCU. This was the most successful film franchise of all time. Like, it's a huge series. So I think there's definitely a lot to be told there. And I think if they announced it tomorrow, the world will go crazy for it. So fingers crossed I reckon the next 10, 20 years, I do think a Harry Potter sequel will happen. But let me know your thoughts on that, guys. Do you think it will happen? Do you not think it will happen? Let me know in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about that, and we'll have a little chat about that.